Mr. Jennings today.
Happy to be here.
Mr. Michael Reese, Al Stasik.
Good afternoon or morning, I guess, depending on where you're from.
Great day. That's where I'm at. That's what I know for sure.
Best day ever.
Yeah, best day ever. Best day of my life. And I'm actually humbled and so excited to have this opportunity to be a part of this with you, Brett Jennings. I have a tremendous amount of respect for you and consider you a close friend. And I know what everybody is on here to see is to understand how you came to the conclusion of joining us at eXp Realty. Obviously, you've had you've done a tremendous job of looking at what are all your options, and I know that you're very analytical in looking at what's best for you and your family. And you came to the conclusion after having several offers that most of us, I think, are going to be very interested to learn about and to do a lot of analysis on that. You came to the conclusion to join us at eXp Realty. But why don't we start with, how did we get to this point here where this was even possible?
Well, again, thanks for having me on, Jay. It's pretty awesome to be here. You guys have been instrumental in helping me kind of grow and go to the next level consistently throughout my real estate career. But the one thing that kind of got me to where in this moment right here today is one principle really that's guided my success, as long as I can remember. I've always been a proponent of growth and development, but early in my real estate career, I heard Gary Keller speak, and it was just one idea he tossed out. It wasn't an original idea even. It was a quote by this inventor and philanthropist, Buckminster Fuller. And he said, environment is stronger than willpower. And what Gary tacked on there, he said that the most successful people don't let their own willpower determine their success. And so what I've done with that is I've just consistently gone out and sought out environments and relationships with people who were performing at levels above, or who were further along than myself, and that forced me to grow. And that's really ultimately what ended up how I bumped into you all here. I think in 2011, I was doing about 35 transactions, and I was giving it all my all. And I got a call from Mike Reese at the time. And this is, the tail end of the short sale days. And as soon as I connected with Mike, I knew that, I remember telling my wife, I said, I connected with a guy, Michael Reed, he got a partner, Jay Kinder, and just talking with these guys and the level they were operating at. Jay, I think you were doing about 500 sales a year at that time, with your business. And Mike was doing 300 transactions a year with his business in Keller Williams. And just I remember kind of just vibrating at the same level with Mike. And I told my wife, I said, it's interesting. They got this coaching company called Kinder Reese because I feel like kindred spirits. So at any rate, it's that relationship, started off just with coaching and ultimately obviously evolved into these mastermind groups with top agents across the country. And it's that consistent connection with people, operating at levels that were just 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of where I was that really helped me accelerate my success. And, one of the things that's interesting about this new cloud-based model, and specifically who's aligning with it, is it's in the past I paid for coaching and I went into environments coaching with you all and coaching with other organizations, and we'd meet and make connections with some really great producers across the country. And after those events, we take some great notes and come away with some great ideas, and then kind of go back to all our own respective environments or brokerages or whatever they were, whether I was going back to Keller Williams and you were going back to Coldwell Banker. But what's cool about where we are now is we really get to execute and implement together and kind of stay aligned. And I'm just excited about all the opportunities that are here. So,
yeah. So, Mike, is there anything you want to add to the story?
No, man. I just I can say that the only thing I can say is that Brett's had probably one of the most impacts on my on my life outside of real estate. You know, he's just affected my life personally as just an amazing person, and just kind of giving me, you know, some of the best frameworks for, you know, being a husband, a father, and, you know, a business partner and a friend. So, you know, to me, what's really awesome is just, you know, I'm kind of like Ray Dalio, you know, I'm looking to, you know, do meaningful work with meaningful people. And I've never been around so many meaningful, amazing people that it was just always hard to get alignment. You know, I think it's what's my brother's name over here? Charlie Munger, who says, you know, one of the most important things in the world is compensation behavioral alignment. And so, you know, there ain't a better way to get people more aligned than aligning the compensation, right?
Right. No question about it. Probably the lesson I've learned the most times. And unfortunately, more than once I've had to learn that lesson.
And I think Brett said that about coaching, and just, you know, that's what I think, you know, that's what I would add.
I love it. So one of the things that, you know, that is pretty common, I think, with everyone who joins EXP is that, you know, you've heard about it maybe a couple of times or a few times, sometimes multiple times. Someone has, you know, tried to get you to look at it. And, you know, what's your story, you know, as far as, you know, being introduced to it and over time and how you've looked at it and how you came to this place where we're at today, where you made the decision to join us at EXP?
Yeah, well, it's been an interesting journey because this has not been an impulsive decision for me. I mean, I've only really made a move with my business and where I was running my business 3 times in my 10-year career, and every time it was done purposefully, not because somebody was just excited about something. And so it really this was the same way. I actually heard about EXP and this cloud-based model in November of 2016. Brent Gove, who was a former team lead with Keller Williams in Roseville, pulled me aside. I was at a Tony Robbins event, and in the hallway he grabbed me and said, "Hey, there's this thing, EXP. It's going to revolutionize the real estate industry." So at any rate, I took a look at it at that time, and when I saw it, I said, you know, okay, I get the model. I think, I mean, it's similar to a lower cost structure like Keller Williams. It's this cloud-based technology, which is kind of cool. It could be cool for Silicon Valley, but I had some objections at the time, specifically because I run a team and my people, we have a cadence of productivity. We collaborate together. We meet physically together a few times a week. And so, you know, I say, hey, this fact that we don't have an office, and secondarily that, you know, I've never heard of this brand before. I think that, you know, would consumers have an issue with it? Or more importantly, can I recruit to this brand? Because at that time, 16 months ago, there was, you know, nobody had heard of EXP.
Right. So why now? So, I mean, you know, what's changed, I guess, at this point, and why now, as I can hear a 3-year-old screaming in the background? I hope y'all can't hear that.
Yeah. What changed for me, 2 things were happening with me, you know, and they say timing is everything in business. 2 things were happening in my world. You know, we had a really great year with Brett Jennings Real Estate Experts last year. We cracked $165 million in production. Obviously, netted a really good amount of money out of that. It was a major 7-figure goal for me to do that. And I was looking at building passive income. You know, I've been investing in real estate and sidelined in my business. We invest in some flips, buying some cash flow rentals. And so that was one of the things that was a priority for me. I said, okay, great. You know, let's take this vehicle that we have, real estate, not just make a good living and put money in the bank, but let's leverage it and really build wealth and passive income. So I started really buying investment properties, and I've got a plan for my team members where I help them invest. So that was one of the things. The other thing that was happening for me is just really in the last year and a half, as we cracked 100 million, I started looking at, you know, what's the future value of my business? How saleable? If I at some point want to unplug, you know, partially wind out of the business or completely sell my company at some point, what are my options? And, you know, my belief was that, you know, owning a real estate team or being just a real estate salesperson at a high level of production inside a franchise brokerage, you don't really have that saleable of an asset, you know? So I was wanting to know what the options were. And so I started looking down the track and just looking at what in my market were some of these things, because we got a technology company called Compass that that's a startup. They've raised $750 million. They were buying agents. There's a local NRT affiliate out there that was writing checks for agents. And so I kind of wanted to get a sense of, all right, well, what's the value of my business in these models, and would any of those things work at helping me build a future asset value? So that's, when I was looking at those options, one was like go independent, and I talked with some other people who are doing a lot of Zillow marketing. It was like, hey, maybe we'll start a cloud-based brokerage. We'll all still run our own independent brands, but we could kind of band together and maybe get a couple $2 billion in sales volume and look to sell that someday. And that was one idea. And then the second thing, obviously, is I started checking out these other options like Compass and NRT's affiliates that were offering cash. So
Brett, I want to unpack that a little more, because I think it's fascinating the direction that you were looking at what are all the ways. And I love the idea of aligning with a lot of top agents in the marketplace. We've said it forever. How do we put all our fires together, make one big fire? What did you run into as you investigated that, whether it was, for a long period of time you looked at it or a short period of time that you looked at it? What was missing that wasn't going to enable you to execute maybe your own brand? Because we experienced the same thing ourselves and attempted to do the same thing. But I just want to hear your perspective on, obviously we coach everyone at some certain point goes independent. It seems like that's the direction that most all of us, at least we all have at some point, have, looked at that as the viable option. The next step is being independent. So what was it that was keeping you from being able to band together a bunch of top agents and really do something special together?
Well, to try to do it on a regional level across the state, and the idea, we realized, hey, we don't want to take our eye off the prize as far as all of us have really good individual businesses that are highly profitable, and we didn't want to get tangled up in starting a brokerage and running a brokerage. That was kind of the thing that kept us at bay from that. So that's what kind of led me down the track to look at these other options. And the first option I explored, there's a local out of San Francisco, an NRT affiliate that was acquired by NRT. For those who don't know, is the kind of conglomerate that owns Sotheby's, Century 21, Coldwell Banker. It's the biggest real estate entity in the world, that's holds this portfolio of brands. And they acquired one in San Francisco. I actually became friends with the CEO of that company, and great guy. And it was interesting as our relationship unfolded, and I was sharing with him my vision of the business and where I wanted it to go. And he was like, hey, maybe we could work together in some capacity, on a coaching relationship, which was kind of flattering. But then they came back and offered, a pretty attractive multiple six-figure cash offer, to basically a signing bonus for 2 years that, for 3 years that they would offer, and some concessions on marketing and things to basically kind of make my cost structure the same as what it would have been at Keller Williams. But when I step back and look at it, in my third year, I'd end up paying back most of what I was given in that first year. And secondarily, it didn't do anything for any of my team members. It would align my pockets, and it didn't really meet my needs there. So the other thing I looked at was this technology company, Compass. So Compass, for those who don't know, is a startup. They've been around about 4 years, I think. They started in New York. They're in Aspen, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, and they've been on Inman News. You read about them, and their mission or purpose is to really create the best technology combined with the best agents in the business. But what was interesting, so I met with them, and I actually, in all my due diligence, I got the opportunity to meet with the CEO of every one of these companies. I met with Robert Refkin. They offered me an attractive package, about $400,000 in stock, $260,000 a year of incentives. But when I unpacked that offer, I took a look at it, and they were going to end these kind of concessions that would kind of level my cost structure to what it is now in the third year. Yet the stock that they were giving me wasn't going to fully vest until the fourth year. So I asked them, I said, hey, can we do something here, either accelerate the vesting of the stock, because I don't want to get stuck in the fourth year having to pay an extra $700,000 to run my team, while I'm waiting for the stock to vest. And long and short of it is, they couldn't extend the concessions, and they couldn't shorten the vesting on the stock. And you can unpack out of that really what Compass is up to is their CEO is a former Goldman Sachs guy, and he's looking to engineer a valuation for an IPO, and that's kind of their strategic priority. So they can't accelerate the vesting of the stock because it's going to go public in year 3 probably, and they can't continue those concessions because they got to get those cleared off the books by the time they go public. Which caused me to...
Can you unpack their strategy on how they're growing with agents, just so in case someone's watching, they don't understand the full strategy?
That was the other thing that I took a close look at after I dug just the surface of the offer. I want to look at what's the culture of that company, as well as what's the training opportunities like. Because guys, this is not about the lowest split. That's not what this move is about. I started this conversation by saying the thing that got me to where I am was seeking out environments and relationships with people who were operating at a higher level than I was. So this is not about split. When I looked at Compass, got the opportunity to meet with Refkin, it concerned me a little bit that he's a stock market. He's a Wall Street guy. He's not a realtor, and that's his focus. I took a look. I had a personal friend who was at the company that moved from another company, and after we met and walked out the conference room door, he said, "Hey, this is a cool, sexy building. They're spending tons of money on their footprint, but make no mistake about it. When you walk outside that room, it's dog eat dog out there. It all looks cool, but And so what that spoke to me was that they didn't necessarily have culture, right? And then lastly, on the training piece, I got the opportunity to attend one of their trainings that some of their local leadership was really excited about. They'd come back from New York, and I got to attend there, and it was pretty interesting. It was some watered down kind of Tom Ferry principles. So lastly, to answer your question, Al, their talent acquisition strategy, or how they're gaining agents, is making them offers like they did to me. Most of the agents they bought early on are luxury agents, and these are people typically kind of in the tail end of their career, or at least past the midpoint of their career, that have a country club Rolodex. They do 20 to 30 deals a year. They don't use technology at the level that a lot of us business builders are, where we're really trying to grow to 100 transactions or more. And so it was interesting that when I unpacked it all, they didn't have culture. The agent base wasn't aligned with the kind of people that were growth minded like I was, and their stock strategy was not going to get me to where I want to go. And again, it wasn't going to be something that was great for my team. So that's kind of what happened there. I did then take a closer look at EXP, because I'd seen it 18 months ago. I've watched July Inman News. I'm at the Inman conference in San Francisco. Brad Inman says, "Hey guys, watch out for this cloud-based brokerage model. It's not going to disrupt real estate per se, but it probably can disrupt the real estate brokerage space." And they were 4,000 agents in July. And anyway, so I bought some of their stock at that time because I had seen the model and I believed in the business model. I just didn't think it was the right fit for me at the time. I took a look at that, and I took a second look at EXP, going deeper. I saw a number of people making the move to EXP in these private top agent masterminds that I'm a part of, through Keller Williams, and secondly, through some of these private Facebook groups. Obviously, my affiliation with you, we've had a number of our peers and colleagues that had made this move over. So it caused me to take a deeper look. And the things that I looked at when I took this closer look at EXP was, okay, what were my concerns in the beginning
that was my question.
Yeah, what were my concerns in the beginning was, hey, look, I need an office space to work out of. And they said, well, you have this opportunity with Regis Office Suites where you can look at that as an option. And the Regis in our area, it's actually beautiful offices. It's a step up of where we were at Keller Williams. I looked at the cost of it and looked at where I was saving money from the move, and it's actually more cost effective to me to operate out of this environment. Thirdly, I did want to look at possibly buying my own building. and instead of paying an extra $100,000 to Keller Williams, in this model, I can buy my own building if I choose to, and take that $100,000 a year that I've been paying Keller, pay it on an SBA small business loan to pay down the mortgage on that $3 million asset, and that's another off balance sheet asset that can grow my business. So I looked at those things. The other thing that really caught my eye was this piece on revenue share. Having been in Keller Williams for 4 years, I've never actively recruited for Keller Williams. I've recruited a few members to my team. Occasionally when I would interview people for my team at Keller Williams, if they weren't a right fit, I'd say, hey, go see the front desk guy. Keller is a good place for you to start your business, although you're not a right fit for our team. And out of that, I would say I passively recruited passively ended up with, say, 20 people, 15 to 20 people in my profit share tree at Keller Williams. And that was bringing me about $12,000 a year. When I layered that over what would have happened for me here at EXP, that would have been about $70,000 in passive income per year for me. And again, my goal outside of just selling houses is to buy real estate, to get passive cash flow, so that I can build my retirement and financial freedom. For me and for anybody really in California, what it takes to develop, just $3,000 or let's say $3,000 a month in passive income through investment properties is, you gotta make $100,000 in California, because between federal and state, they take about 50%.
Ouch.
You got to net $100,000 out of your real estate business. So after taxes, you have 50. You take that 50, you put it down on an investment property that is, say, $250,000. You can't buy any of those here in California. I got to go buy them in places like where you guys are in Texas and Houston. But I can buy a good property there, and I can buy a good property there and get about 7% cash on cash return. So that $50,000 invested in a property there brings me about $3,500 a month. And it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to net $100,000 out of my real estate business. So,
hey, Brad, can I pause for a second? Anybody watching right now, if you guys could give us some love for Brent Jennings in California, hit that heart button, hit that like button, and if you guys have questions, please put them in the comments, and we'd love to answer some of these questions live while we have them on. I know, Jay, you have something about the whole investment thing of what you need to put in. We unpacked this on our last one, but I want our viewers to give us a little bit of Brent Jennings love.
Yeah. Welcome aboard from those of us at EXP, and for those of you who appreciate him sharing the process he went through to come to this decision. And even better, I want to add one more thing. For those of you, so Brett, you did created a calculator and did some analysis on all of these options, and you looked at it very objectively, and you created a little calculator that helps someone that might be thinking of considering EXP or might be thinking of making a move, whether it's anywhere, to evaluate all of their options. And you created that, I guess it's a calculator is what I would call it, and you've offered that you're willing to give that to people that want it. So anybody who wants the calculator or the document that Brett had used to evaluate all of these options, that if you're thinking of making a move or you want to have that tool for yourself, just comment, calculator in the comments, and
they might not be able to spell calculator. They might not be able to spell calculator.
That's fine. Spell it wrong. It's fine. Just say, I want it.
Yeah, I want it. Just type in you want. I did create what I did when I unpacked all these, comparing Keller Williams with Compass, with some of these other franchises locally. What was the cost structure and what was the long-term value that I could build for my business? So anyway, long and short of it is like what really had me kind of make that move to EXP was I realized I could have a place a working environment for my team, and actually it was better than the current office I was in. The second concern I had was about the brand. Hey, is this brand legitimate? And just watching the tidal wave and groundswell of agents across the country who've made the move, and not just like average agents. I mean, these were major players in every market across the country moving to this platform to run their businesses. So that kind of validated that question for me. And then just again, looking at this profit share model, again, it takes me $100,000 profit out of my real estate business invested in an investment property to make me $3,500 a year in passive income. And in the EXP model, just introducing EXP to an agent who caps, and in California, geez, guys, like an agent caps in our market with 3 sales, and then they're at 100% commission. And every one of those folks, if I get to help mentor them in any capacity, it adds $3,000 a year to my passive income. And so I looked at that, and the question I had was, okay, because there's a lot of noise, honestly, guys, around EXP. There's so many people excited about it, and because it is this thing where, hey, you share it with somebody and there's a financial incentive to do so, a big part of me taking the time to make this decision was I wanted to see through the noise and really what was clear and true. And what was undeniable was certainly it was a better economic opportunity. So then I looked at this measure of culture, that was missing for me at Compass, and I said, wow, my best mentors that I've aligned with, both of you guys and some of these private mastermind groups, we're now making this move, and we were all financially aligned. That was an inspiring vision to see that I wanted to be a part of, and not just that. Like, this opportunity for me now affords me to be able to coach other agents and offer some support to agents that are outside my team. Offer them the same resources that I was paying $25,000, $30,000 a year for to you guys, Jay and Mike, through the National Association of Expert Advisors, and now people have access to that same level of coaching content that I was paying $25,000 a year for. They got access to it for free through this relationship at EXP. So those were the things that kind of got me back to looking at it. But that led me to go to my broker at Keller. And I said, hey guys, like, I like you, I respect you. I would never make a move without consulting with you. And so I put it on their plate and said, hey, can you take a look at this model? Because as far as I can see, it appears to be a better model. And I came to Keller Williams because it was a better model. Can you punch some holes in this for me? Yeah, and that was an interesting, my operating broker there took a look at it, said, hey, let's meet in a couple days. And we met, and he offered a couple perspectives that, one agent out in Florida made the move to EXP and went back to Keller. Didn't work for them. And that he questioned, a couple of the early people who'd come over to EXP that they somehow didn't leave Keller Williams and sell their interest. They were asked to leave. Not anything significant that would cause me to not make that decision. So I told him, he asked me.
Just to get this all set up for everybody, I mean, you had, you were in contact with Mike and Jay and myself, and after doing a ton of research, because there's 2 things that I know about Brent Jennings. One, you are one of the most kindest, thoughtful human beings that I've ever met, and I do mean that sincerely. I mean, we've been through so many masterminds together. You've added so much value. The second is you're extremely detail-oriented. So you're very loyal, very relationship-oriented, but you're also very detail-oriented. You went to your OP and explained to them, look, man, I'm seriously considering this. I'm seriously considering moving my team over to EXP. Please, before I do this, shoot some holes in it. Tell me what I'm missing here. Is that kind of how that conversation went, and then it went from there?
Yeah, that's basically how that conversation went. There wasn't a lot there, and he asked me, hey, so when are you looking to make a decision? I said, I got to make a decision in a couple days here. We left that meeting, I drove home, and within an hour, I got a text from him saying, hey, Gary Keller wants to fly you and I, he'll pay for our flight. He wants to fly you and I out to Austin to meet with him Friday. He's clearing his calendar so we can meet with Gary directly. And that was, that was in a moment in my real estate career. I have to tell you, I had a few different emotions that came up when I heard, Gary Keller wants to meet with you personally. He's going to clear his calendar for the day. On one hand, I was excited, right? I felt like the kid in Willy Wonka when he gets the golden ticket. He's going to go to the factory, right, and meet the candy maker. I was humbled in the sense that, hey, man, I'm just a kid in Silicon Valley selling a few more houses than the next guy. And then lastly, I was a little concerned. I was like, hey, is EXP that much of potentially a threat or concern
Hey, Mike, were you weren't concerned at all, were you, Mike Reese?
Don't go.
Yeah. So what was interesting was, I was concerned, like, hey, is EXP that much of a threat to Keller that Gary's flying me out on a plane? So what was amazing, I get to spend the whole day with Gary Keller a couple weeks back on a Friday, one-on-one with he and a CTO, where they unpacked their whole technology strategy. And Gary's a very committed guy. The thing I got to credit him with is, he is an idol and a mentor to me in this business. And he's got a clear strategy he's attempting to execute on. But long and short of it, what it came down to at the end was, this is a great strategy, Gary, but what started me on this journey in the first place was I was looking, how do I build a value for my business that I could potentially sell, something that I could sell down the road when I want to stop selling houses. And I put that question to him in an email after, and he said, hey, I'll get back to you. And the next day he said, I'm still thinking about that. I'll get back to you. And on the third day, he said he was still thinking, and I emailed him back and said, hey, I'd really appreciate your input because I got to go into my strategy with my team and make a decision here. And he came back and basically said, the best thing you can do, selling your business isn't a good idea because you'll only get 3 times, maybe 4 times earnings for it. And why not just keep it for a few more years? So the best thing you can do is build a good business. But he didn't, and I said, do you have any vehicle, within KW that I can create a value for my company that I could potentially sell if that's an option for me down the road? And he didn't have anything. So that and then the last piece that kind of tipped it over for me was I have another mentor who is a coach to about 80 different brokerage owners, people who own Berkshire Hathaway franchises or Keller Williams franchises across the country. And he was very clear with me after that conversation with Gary Keller. He said, look, you're free to make whatever choice you want to, and I don't have a dog in this race. I'm just a guy who's been in the business 35 years coaching other broker owners across the country. What I can tell you unequivocally, EXP is clearly right at the crux of the hockey stick portion of momentum in their growth. He says, I'm witnessing it. It is routing out a lot of the brokerages across the country because it's exposing them in a way that if they're not adding massive value to the agent, they simply aren't going to be around. And the second thing he said, with the talent that's being drawn to EXP now, that model has been validated. It's unquestionable by the number and the level of talent of people who've made the move to EXP that this is a valid model and it's here to stay. And that was the thing that probably cinched it for me. That really did that.
That's awesome.
I remember. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so it was a lot of homework that I did. And again, I looked at the economic models and compared them. And if anybody is interested in comparing your business model, where you currently exist, if it's in a franchise brokerage, and compare it to the EXP model, I've got a Google Doc spreadsheet that I've run. You can put your GCI in there, what your costs are, and it'll show you over 1, 2, 3, 4 years where you end up in your current model and where you end up with EXP. And that was one part of it, but the other part of it was this culture piece. And the most important thing is being aligned with really top producing agents, because that's what's really driven the success in my career.
I think Mike had a comment, and then Mike, when you guys are done with that comment, there's a question on here from Chris Rasmussen.
Yeah. My only thing, I was just going to make this, in my career, I remember being on the road at midnight, driving from Jay's house on a 3-way call with Brett Jennings. And the funny thing is, I told you, Brett, I said, Brett, I feel like I'd be on the road, going down the coast of California. And, I believe that we're good friends, right? I've gone snowboarding and you've made the travel to come snowboard with me and my family. And, to be honest with you, man, I say it all the time. The thing, you're working hard, bro. You're working hard. I talk to you, a lot of nights, at 7, 8 o'clock at night. And that's not, last night we had a call that we were going to jump on, and you're having dinner with a $2.5 million buyer. And I believe personally that from the day that I met you, you've understood leverage and you've also understood the principle of creating value. And so I think that is really true in my perspective, not to question what you're saying, is since I've known you, you've always liked to coach real estate agents. You've always liked to add value to real estate agents. And since the day that I met you, you've really created real estate as a vehicle in order to make money doing that. And I remember you telling me that specific thing because we spent a lot of time. And so when I first talked to Jay, the very first time me and Jay were talking about EXP, I found about EXP on the road when we were doing a tour. I had first heard about it. We all watched the video a year and a half ago when Chris Waters sent over a video, and I think we might have accidentally had the wrong perspective. But when we broke it down and I told Jay, I said, Jay, I don't know how to sell somebody EXP. Don't know how to do it. But what I do know is that anybody who's interested in coaching somebody, because I know the coaching business left and right. We built a $10 million coaching business. And I've seen agents like yourself go from 30 deals to what I would say is $250 million, right? When I misjudged the numbers on accident, rounded up by 50 million. But the truth is that I do know, and this is just my core belief, I do know that the reason I was successful in real estate was because of Jay Kinder being able to share with me things that he had an incentive, or he had no incentive to share with me. And so many people at a local level are disincentivized from sharing. And so we all join these high-paid mastermind groups and fly across the country and don't spend time, with our family or others in order to try to get kind of this fulfillment level, right? And we meet each other and we have this huge network around the country. And then we come back home and we see these agents still struggling that we know exactly how to help add value to them. We know that. We know. And so I'll tell you the truth, man. Yesterday I had, and Jay told me this would happen. I just want to put this out there. You never know. You never know who's watching this Facebook Live. You never know who you're influencing. You never know. What I do know is you never know who they will become. A guy named Josh DeShong was on here a second ago watching. I heard he's doing really, really well. I knew him when the top of his, and I'm calling him out, but I remember when the thing in the top of his car, whatever, that piece of cloth would hang down and he would go to listing appointments, right? And he was one of the most amazing students I ever met, just like Hoss. I knew these guys slept on my couch at my lake house, my in-laws who now are the number one agents in their market, number one agents. And I helped a lot of these people that I know from across the country get into real estate. And I didn't help them because they paid me. I helped them because it's my passion, kind of like you. I mean, you find me on the back of a boat talking to somebody about my expired campaign, or me and Jay, my wife, saying, come on, guys, we got to go. And we're sitting there still trying to have a conversation at the table when the bill's been paid an hour ago about, our new ISA. And what I believe is that we all have been trying to add value to the community, and that this platform has created an environment for us to take what we had to build on our own. Nobody built our learning management softwares. Nobody built our conferences that we invested millions of dollars in, communities that we created. But what we have done and what we have demonstrated was our ability to continue to share with each other. You shared with me, I shared with you. And I believe that, because I've learned from you about, that when you meet Brett, he'll vibrate your chest. And, he talks about a tuning fork. And when you get them close together and they start vibrating, and that love and that just good intention. And I just believe that the intention of and the platform, the intention, like I had 4 people, my neighborhood, the only kid I hit with the baseball bat and ran home, texted me last night at 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, asking me, it's a wiffle bat. The point was he texted me and asked me how my parents was doing, and he asked me about could he get with me on EXP. Since I've been on this live, Jay, doors rolled in.
Yeah.
A kid from high school across town, instant messaged me. I had my very first bookkeeper that I ever had in real estate that moved to St. Louis, Missouri, that I've never talked to. instant message me. So, you know, what happened in the past in those learning environments, there was really not a really big incentive for me to call them back. I would, you know, don't get me wrong, but I would call them and I would do whatever I could. But, you know, I'd still have to make a living for myself. And what I love about this opportunity is that it's given me the opportunity to do what I love, which is adding value to people's lives. It's given me an environment in which I am compensated to learn how to do that to as many people as possible. And for me and you and Jay and Al and people who share those same core beliefs, we might not know exactly how we're going to do it, but I guarantee you if there's anybody that can figure it out, we're going to be all working together on how to just help real estate agents do better every day.
And you just touched on one thing, a couple things there that I just want to highlight. One of the last things, when I sat in that meeting with my broker and we said, hey, look, you know, there's disruption kind of trying to chip away at the real estate agent and the real estate industry from a lot of different angles. And my you know, unpacking all of the, meeting with the CEO of Compass and meeting with Gary Keller Direct and meeting with the CEO of EXP, I looked at every model and I said, if I'm going to bet the future of my real estate business, where do I believe is my best bet? And what I can tell you is that principle that you're talking about, and this thing I started this interview with, was the one principle that's guided my success throughout my career is that I've consistently sought out environments and relationships that force me to grow. These are people who are operating at 1, 2, 3 levels higher than where I was. And that's what literally pulled me to my success. So what I know is that if I'm going to bet the future of my real estate business on any kind of leadership, it is the people who are in the trenches at the leading edge, at the highest level production, because they've got awesome culture in their businesses. They're client focused, customer focused. They're on the front lines with the customer, and they're iterating and hacking and doing everything they can to deliver a better experience, how they're going to gain and grow market share. And that brain trust that now has been created within EXP is the innovation engine that's going to take us to the next level. And, you know, my personal passion, Mike, you touched on it, and many people may not know, is, you know, I was straight out of college. I went to work for Tony Robbins for 2 years, and it was some of the funnest times of my life. Any of you guys have ever been to Tony Robbins, you know, just like what a high energy, fun loving environment that is. And I love coaching, you know, and that was my plan. I was going to put money into cash flow properties and do executive and life and business coaching post real estate. But I realized, you know what, I can do it inside my team. And that's really when my team started to grow. Challenge I'm facing now is that within my team, I'm looking for a very narrow profile. There's a high degree of accountability within our team, a high degree of structure. But now with the EXP model, I can reach out, I can coach agents in my local market, and I'm incentivized to do so. And so some people might ask, hey, Brett, why are you going to share kind of the best of what you're doing with agents in the local market? Well, guess what? I am, because the EXP model affords me that opportunity where I can coach them. So I will be, and we're kind of leading into what we'll talk about next on our next broadcast. But I am providing an opportunity where I will coach and mentor 10 agents locally on how I went from 14 transactions to 40 transactions to 100 transactions to 140 transactions. And you'll get access to me. I'll coach you twice a month for half an hour, and I will provide you access to my best mentors, which are Jay Kinder and Michael Reese, the things that I used to pay $25,000 a year for. So you'll have access to all the coaching content that we've used to kind of really build what is Brett Jennings Real Estate Expert.
Sounds to me like your founders club. You're forming your local founders club over there.
Yeah, we are. So we're looking to, we're here in this market. We're not going anywhere. We're going to continue to gain market share and grow, but we want to add value. And now there's an awesome vehicle.
Can I just unpack one other thing? And it's something that Mike said, and it leads right into what you're saying, is that we Jay, Mike, myself, and soon you, Brent, I hope you have nothing scheduled for the next 3 weeks because you're going to be a busy man. But we talk to agents every day about this opportunity that call us. And a lot of times, and we were guilty of this same thing, is being on the transaction treadmill. And when we ask them, what's your goal next year? And, they sold 150 houses and they say it's 200 houses, or maybe they're doing it into the millions and say, I did 100 million. I want to do 200 million, 300 million. And that's really the goal. And I just think that we've all been here. Jay, you've been there. You know, 500 some houses. Mike, you've sold you were top 50 in KW. I was, top in my
a billion,
But the question that we find ourselves asking is, and I think it's just something that you got to get past is that really the goal? There comes a time in your career where it's not just about you going out and selling 300 or 400 or 500 houses. It's about how can you help others succeed and what kind of value can you transfer? Because you've seen success. You're going to be successful. So some of the people watching this, they're saying, well, Brett, yeah, that's good for you because you're a team leader and people will talk to you. That's why this opportunity is good for you. Or Jay Kinder, Al Stasic, people know who you are. That's why. But why it's good for the agent who's trying to grow their business is a big deal because that's the reason you're here. It's the reason why Jay and Mike are on this broadcast right now. It's the reason. It's the purpose of why we joined arms with this company. Can you just touch on that? Because you actually just did. But, I wanted to make the distinction for people that are listening to this.
Yeah, no. I mean, what's the purpose of life? The purpose of life is to live an amazing life before you die. And the purpose of business is to fund your perfect life. It shouldn't be an end in itself. And, what's been great is, as we've created more and more success, there's a natural evolution as you kind of handle your basic economic needs. You have a little bit of money for investing. There's just this natural, I just call it evolution in what gives you fulfillment. For me, it's now helping other people do that. And so through this platform, it gives us a vehicle and an opportunity to be able to reach out, and I can help out and uplift some of the agents in the local market. So yeah, it's powerful.
I put up a link. I don't think you guys can actually see it. There is a link up on the screen, and that link is to a webinar that's happening, I believe, Thursday.
Yeah.
Or maybe is it Wednesday or Thursday? Wednesday?
It's Thursday at noon Pacific time. So we've taken a lot of time here for those of you who kind of come and hung out with us here. But if you're really wanting to understand how moving your business over to this industry-changing platform, and I would call it a platform over a brokerage because we're in Silicon Valley. This is tech. Guys, you've seen what happened with Airbnb. It's a platform. What is Uber? It's a platform that entrepreneurs in Airbnb, it happens to be property owners run their business on. In Uber, it happens to be a platform that people who own vehicles that want to make money run their business on. EXP is a platform, but in addition to that, it's where all the top producers are moving. And if you want to align with that and glean and mastermind and mentor with us, the opportunity is I'll help you. My path from going from 14 to 40 to 140 transactions, or if your goal is just to become more profitable and position yourself ahead of the trends that are redefining real estate, join us this coming Thursday at noon for a live webinar. We're going to unpack what is EXP, the business model, answer all your questions in relation to what all EXP is and what they can offer you as an individual agent, team owner, or maybe even independent broker, and help determine if moving to this cloud-based business model is right for you. So click on the link below, register. If you have questions, PM me or IM me, and I'll get back to you. Guys, you got anything else you want to share?
No, sir, man. I'm just glad to be in business with you, my friend, and I look forward to a very inspired and perfect life.
I know if I lived in San Jose, Silicon Valley area, right?
Yep.
I'd want to be on your Founders Club if I lived over there. That's all I know.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd be there. There was 2 questions, and I don't know if we have time for them, Jay. Do you think we do?
Yeah, let's get it.
One was it was a question for Brent. As a former Coldwell Banker general manager for KW, what's the number one reason I should join EXP?
Yeah. Well, if you have, there is certainly a unique opportunity for anybody who's had visibility or reach into the local agent community. If you're well connected and you do take a look at this model, you will see it is a better business model. So if you have reach in this industry, what I mean by reach is influence, visibility, and a lot of connections, absolutely you're going to want to join us on the call where we unpack all this, and you can see really how you can leverage your influence, your credibility, or if you're coaching minded like me, how you can help other agents locally go to the next level and be well compensated for it. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
There's one more question from our friend Kyle Swanson. What's up, Kyle? He's been so patient. Thank you. He wrote, is the plan to sell off your revenue share or live off the passive income? Well, that was his question, just so he can get clear on, because he asked it when you were talking about selling your business and your asset.
Yeah, this is a good question because the asset value I'm looking to build with EXP is they offer you an opportunity to buy their company stock. They have an employee stock purchase plan where you can buy the stock, take 5% of your commission, buy the stock at a 20% discount. I modeled that out over the 4 years of my business. I'll end up with about $800,000 worth of stock over 4 years, and that's what we call at par at today's market value. What we know is that stock's going to be taken off. As far as the revenue share goes, Kyle, there's an equation in finance called net present value. And so what net present value means is what's the value of an income stream, say of $100,000 a year that's passive, that's truly passive. What's the value of that income stream? Typically it's a multiple of 10, but the actual value depends on the durability of that income. So one of the questions I had when taking a close look at EXP is really like, how durable is this income? Is this like a fly-by-night company that's going to be here and then like a year from now it's going to blow up and go away, or agents are going to find a new better business model? And what I had to look at was the similarities between this and Keller Williams. What Gary Keller did brilliantly when he set up Keller Williams was he gave equity stock to the key founders of a local market center. He'd find 5 people who were major influencers. He'd give them a little bit of stock in the company, typically 3 to 5%. And what that stock does is it makes them sticky to that company. They're less likely to move. We have 33% churn, or agents move, brokerages, 33% of agents move every year from one brokerage to the next. What Keller did there is he anchored the top agents there. So we have the same principle that applies here at EXP. Secondarily, Gary added profit share to the Keller Williams model so that the average agent in that office was incentivized to share the story of Keller Williams and why they were there. And anytime you do that, you have people validating the decision they made. They're less likely to go against or move from that decision. So what we have with EXP is, instead of profit share, we have rev share, which is it's just the same thing amplified by 4 or 5. So those same principles apply. So what I've seen is, some of my mentors here, I won't get into the passive income piece because that's not why I believe we're here, but it is a huge opportunity for anybody who's interested in building passive income.
Yeah. There's 2 things I want to point out. One, we're not making any income claims whatsoever as it relates to the stock or whether it's going to go up or down or sideways. As Matthew McConaughey says, he says it goes up and down. It's a wazzy, it's a woozy. We don't know. So we're not making any income claims as to what it will do. And second, if you want to find out more about how the 6 different ways to acquire stock in the company, and you want to find the difference between profit share and revenue share, because there are some distinct differences, join Brent. You said it was noon. I wanted to be specific for everyone who's log on and watch that. That's noon your time, correct? And you're
right. It's noon Pacific time this Thursday. Michael Reese and I will be unpacking the EXP model. Also going to lay out for you exactly how I went from 14 transactions to 40 transactions to 140 transactions. The principles I've applied, the strategies, and the coaching that got me there. We'll unpack that as well on that call. So if you want to know how I did it, I'm going to pull back the curtain and share it with y'all, and then I'm going to provide that opportunity where I'm going to partner with 10 people locally in this market to help coach them. So look forward to that call coming up on Thursday. Anything you guys want to add before we sign off?
No, man, just a pleasure to be here with you. I appreciate you sharing. I think you dropped a lot of knowledge and gave a lot of people clarity, and certainly want to jump on that webinar if you want to learn more, and look forward to seeing you guys in Vegas.
I want to say thanks to you guys, Jay, Mike. I love you guys. You've been instrumental in my success, and it's been awesome being friends. Starting out as business associates, becoming great friends. And look forward what this opportunity brings for all of us.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Awesome. Proud to be in business with you, my friend.
Likewise. Take care, guys.
Guys.
See you at the top.